say it again. Congratulations on your movie.
Thank you.
Adam, you're getting my first questions. I love asking people about making their feature directorial debut, so I will start more broadly on that topic. Why this particular story for your first feature as a director? What was it about it that made you say, this is how I want to introduce myself as a director to this industry?
I think I like characters in crisis. I like a good whodunit. I liked that that it was a whodunit seen through the lens of memory. It was sort of a singular man's journey. I just really identified with sort of his character story. You know, this idea that he's so bereft of memory that he has no context for who he is or his place in the world, and this journey that he goes on to find out who he is so he can reconnect, only to, upon learning everything that he learned, wishes that he never began that journey to begin with. So I think all of those things were really compelling to me.
Very, very ambitious whodunit for your first feature, I will say that. I always love asking about the green light experience when you're making a first feature too. So two-part question about that. What was the biggest roadblock you hit? But then also, what was kind of the game-changing thing that happened, the thing that you acquired that made you feel like this is actually going to be a reality now?
The second part first, Russell Crowe. We had a very hard time getting the movie made, first-time director, and it becomes all about your ability to cast a lead that is compelling. And we'd walk down the road with some other folks, and the combination of me and an actor who wasn't a movie star wasn't really enough to push it over the top. So it kind of gestated for a while. And then one day there was just a phone call that Russell had read the script, was interested, and that was sort of the thing that pushed it over the top.
What was your reaction?
I didn't really believe that, because I think you get jaded and cynical in this business, and so you don't really believe it's happening until it's actually happening. And then it's totally terrifying.
I'll get to your collaboration with him in a minute, but first, Karen, I want to ask you about working with a first-time feature filmmaker. Two questions about that. First, what do you need to see in someone who's new to this part of filmmaking that signals to you, like, I am in safe hands with this person?
I don't know if I have a set sort of rule for that I follow. I think it's a case-by-case situation, and like, you know, I actually hadn't watched anything that you'd made, because did you make any shorts that I could have watched?
I haven't made anything.
Okay, that's why I didn't watch it. So I spoke to Adam, and we kind of had a really, really good conversation, and he wrote the script. So obviously it was an even more insightful conversation because it was his brainchild. And so we spoke, and I was just sort of taken with the conversation and felt like, you know what, I think we can make something really interesting. It's always a little bit of a risk, but it paid off, so that's great.
Okay, so now it paying off. So this is, again, his first feature as director. I have a feeling you're going to go on to direct many more if you want. What is something about Adam as an actor's director that you really appreciated and are excited for more actors out there to experience?
Oh, so many things. Where do I begin?
I love making people compliment each other.
Oh, people get so uncomfortable when they get compliments, right?
Oh, I have another question later on. Everyone here knows that's going to make you all very uncomfortable.
Excellent. No, Adam's amazing to work with from an actor's perspective. He's so collaborative. He really listens to us. He makes us feel heard. He knows to not listen to everything that we're suggesting and take the good parts. And I don't know, I think the biggest thing for me was just the atmosphere that you created. It was such a sort of friendly, safe feeling atmosphere where I just felt like I could fall flat on my face and try things with this character that might be embarrassing to fail at, but I felt okay doing that in the environment that he created.
Oh, I love that. Is there any specific thing you could remember doing where you're like, I'm taking a big swing, no one's going to use this, but because you felt safe and did it and it worked out, we can now see in the finished film?
I mean, you kind of let me take a little bit of a swing with how performative the character is, which is pretty risky because sometimes that can really look like bad acting.
I read something in our notes where now you said that she's an overly brilliant and almost unrealistic person. So what is it like capturing those qualities in her, but while also making her feel grounded enough that she feels real?
What, did I say that? No.
These are from my press notes.
I don't remember saying that. Wait, okay. What was it? She
An overly brilliant and almost unrealistic person.
Yeah, no, that checks out. I think that makes sense. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to pitch this character because she's kind of a different person. Not every time you see her, but quite a lot. I wanted her to have a slight sort of affectation to her as a vibe, like it's slightly affected, it's slightly put on. I think I know who she is underneath it all, but I think as a means of survival, she sort of takes on these characters, and I think she's been watching like YouTube. I mean, YouTube, does the timeline match up with YouTube? Yeah, YouTube. Does YouTube exist in the world of sleeping dogs?
I think it does.
Okay, she watches YouTube videos of intellectuals and sort of emulates them, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. I love backstory details like that. I have another quote from the press notes that I swear I swear you said this, Adam. This is like a little bit of a broader career question, inspired by like the themes of the movie, but also I wrote down this specific part. You said, what thematically excites me about this story is that it deals with the role memory and our awareness of our past plays in shaping who we are today. So for each of you, can you name a past project that you think has contributed most to the kind of artist you are today?
As an artist today? Oh God, I don't know if there's one. I don't know if I could choose one. I think that I'm just like a cocktail of all of them. Yeah, give up for cocktails. I don't know. It's been like, I feel like I've honestly learned something from every single job that I've done. And in a way, learned what not to do on every single job that I've done, because I can't really see what I'm doing as an actor. And then I get to see it like a year later. And then I can assess it and be like, that works. That doesn't really work as much for me. And I do that on every single job. And that's how I hopefully get better.
I think I have to ape Karen's answer. I don't think I could pick just one thing. And I've been a writer my whole career. And I think I've just learned you learn a tremendous amount about storytelling when you're a writer. And I've been fortunate to work on a lot of different projects in different genres. And for me, it's always about a character with a compelling goal and a compelling backstory. I mean, it's not by accident that the title of the book that her character has written in the story is called Past as Prologue, because I'm just really interested in the way things that have happened to people inform their behavior in the present tense. And that's something that I think I've just learned across all the projects that I've worked on. So I don't think I could pick just one, though.
Speaking of your writing work in general, you're also a writer on this. Surprise, surprise, I have another quote that I really like. You said this one. It's a good quote.
Okay.
It's so handy to have the writer be the filmmaker as well, because it means you can get so much more information about the intention behind everything, and you can evolve it in the moment. So I'm wondering, can you remember a time on set when, that attention to detail helped you evolve something that we can now see in the finished film?
I did say that. I remember saying that one.
It's a good quote.
God, I'm trying to remember specifics. I mean, we were able to talk through everything and kind of evolve it in the moment. I don't think I really was like, let's change these lines, but maybe we like played around with the intention behind them a little bit. And like, I mean, you were really collaborative in that sense of like Russell really liked kind of tearing into the scene and being like, okay, how can we change this and do this? And you were so sort of hands-on with that and collaborative. And that was just really cool to watch.
So I'll throw that question to you then. Is there a time when Russell really wanted to play with something and a scene evolved because of it?
Yeah, the whole end of the movie. I remember the day when we were shooting sort of the final triangle standoff with Karen's character and Tommy's character and Russell's character. And Russell showed up that morning. We had 2 days to shoot that scene. And he was like, I don't like the scene. And so I spent, I think, 5 hours in his trailer with him. And we pretty much rewrote the whole scene. So that. I also remember the very first scene where Karen's character meets Harry Greenwood's character, where Richard first meets Laura. That scene was originally written that Richard walks up to Laura sitting at the punch table, right? And all the lines that Richard currently says in the scene were lines that Laura had previously said in the scene, and I think 2 days before we completely flipped the scene.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's making me think. I had two very specific ending questions, and I never really like being like, what's the meaning behind this? But there were two things that really caught my eye about the end. In particular, I'm curious about your choice to have that lens flare when Russell walks into the house at that last moment. I found that to be like a really effective way to signal like we are walking into a profound moment in his experience. So how'd you come to the conclusion that that was the best way to capture that?
We had a lot of lens flare in the movie. Part of it really came from the fact that my DP, Ben Knott, was in love with lens flare. All the stuff in the present tense was shot with these anamorphic Japanese Kowa lenses from the 1960s that had been rehoused. So they were really sort of wonky in terms of the light coming in. And what happened was that was the one scene that we shot on the day when we were supposed to be shooting that whole big ending. And we didn't end up shooting the big ending because I'd spent half a day doing something else. So we had a lot of time to fuck around. And when Russell was opening the door for the first time, that just kind of happened. And then we played around with it and played around with how big can we make that lens flare given what the moment was. So that was not designed. It was kind of by happenstance, and then we sort of built upon it.
Unexpected movie magic is the best stuff. I have another specific question, Karen, about your character from the end. Was it scripted that she touched her necklace as she died?
I think that was. I mean, it was, but it was written later, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, because we talked a lot about her character having sort of a touchstone to the past and a whole story around it. She mentions that it was my grandmother's. And there used to be dialogue in the dinner table scene where Weeder's character is talking about trauma, and he says something very, very pointed to your character that refers to a trauma for her around the death of her grandmother and that necklace. And in the interest of time, we ultimately ended up sort of losing that stuff, but there was a lot of story that we talked about around that necklace.
Here is the question that you're not gonna like. Nobody likes it, but I love it because I think it's an important thing to think about. And before I even say it, I'll just let you all know we're gonna toss it to the audience shortly. So if you want to start thinking of questions, now is the time. I think in this business, we give each other awards, and that's wonderful. But I like hearing people tell themselves good job. So I want you to tell me something you accomplish in Sleeping Dogs that you know you'll be able to look back on and say to yourself, I am so proud of what I did there.
Oh,
see?
I'm a British person. Can't compliment myself. Oh, God. I spoke Mandarin for a second. Never thought I'd be able to do that. Thank you.
I'll take that. Eva, for you?
I directed a movie, and I'd never done that before. So that.
Movies are like true miracles, and first features in particular are some things that should be celebrated, and you should truly be very proud of that. Before I toss it to the audience, I have one unrelated question for you. I wasn't going to do this, but when you're in a new Mike Flanagan movie, it's like I am just obligated to ask about it. One thing with you I'm really curious about is how did the experience working with Mike differ from Oculus to Life Chuck, especially given how much he's evolved the Flana family since that first film.
Flana family, that's catchy.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
Flaniverse.
It's a special thing.
You know what? It didn't feel that different. I was sort of going into it looking like, okay, how has he changed? He's done so many movies. It felt the same. We were back in Alabama, like we'd never left. And like, yeah, he just felt, I mean, if there was any difference, I suppose he just felt more I mean, he was relaxed on the first one, but maybe he wasn't. He was just pretending to be relaxed. But no, he was like just the same Mike Flanagan, the same and brilliant. And the movie is absolutely incredible. I saw a not finished version of it and literally didn't stop crying for days. In a good way.
I'm so excited to tease how incredible it is. Because there's like a wealth of untapped Stephen King books and short stories out there that people could adapt. What do you think it is about Life of Chuck that maybe moviegoers need right now more than any other story?
It's a cathartic experience. It's someone dealing with the end of their life and it's told in a very imaginative way, and it's just beautiful, and it's a celebration of life, I suppose. I think we could all do with a bit of that.
I lie. I'm going to squeeze in one more question. Does that mean it sticks with the format of the story from the short story? Are you
giving things away?
I don't know.
It might.
The short story is so good. If you haven't read it, please go check it out. All right, I'm going to stop pushing. I'm so excited for that one. Does anybody out there have a question? I'm going to go in order. You first, and you'll be next.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, what was it like working with Russell Crowe?
Oh, it was brilliant working with Russell Crowe. He is a full-on proper movie star. And as soon as I sort of got into a scene with him and watched him act in real life, I was like, oh, you have the thing that makes you a movie star that's different from everybody else. And yeah, it was really cool to see how generous he is as a scene partner and how hard he works off camera to really like help you get where you need to go when you're on camera. And it was just really cool to observe. He's great.
All right, next up, right there.
My question is mostly about the trauma moment, because I studied psychology and I had teachers who worked with memory, and they said like there is in history of psychology there is phenomenon like false memory. For example, there was psychoanalytics who did like talk with their clients, and after their therapy they started to remember like, oh, my dad did this to me, or my dad did this to me, like a lot of incest or stuff like this, which never happened. Or for example, they gave example for 9/11 when a lot of people who survivors, they didn't remember some stuff, but when they talk with each other, they started to remember more because they talked with somebody who survived, and it was like their false memory. Maybe in previous moments, did you do this? Did you think about this? So because she's a psychologist, your character, maybe you plan to do like, she manipulated with memories or something like this, maybe. Because for me it was like, oh, maybe she manipulated, maybe she did this, maybe she did this.
I don't think she did that. I don't think she manipulated memory, but I do think she did manipulate him. I think that, she took advantage of her knowledge of his circumstance to use him to do her dirty work.
Do you think she knew exactly that he started to have memory problems maybe in the past, like when she talked with him, maybe she knew his medical history or something?
No, I think she knew that he was an alcoholic and violent, and knew that she could take advantage of that predisposition.
All right, let's see. I see a hand all the way back there.
Great movie. I just had a question about the story. Where was the general idea came from, and was that you had a climax before and then so you wrote the story around it, or I just wanted to know about the story.
So the idea for the movie came from a book that's called The Book of Mirrors, which was a book that came out in 2018. And it was the English language first book by a Romanian thriller author named Eugene Cirevici. So that's where the idea for the movie comes from. The movie itself is, it's a pretty different adaptation of the book in that the character that Russell Crowe plays doesn't appear until the final third of the book. And the narrative in the book isn't actually lensed through the eyes of that protagonist. When is this going to come out?
Are you going to say a spoiler?
Yeah, should I not say a spoiler?
You could say your spoiler, and then I will magically have a spoiler warning come up, so nobody watches this until they see the movie.
So in the book that it's based on, Russell's character is not the killer. So that was invention born from the fact that his character in the book is a cop who has the backstory that he has relative to investigating the case, and he is bereft of memory. But it felt like a missed opportunity in a story that's about a cop with Alzheimer's reinvestigating a case from the past, not to make him culpable in it. But the idea came from a book.
All right, we can squeeze in maybe one more.
Ooh, make it good.
Yeah, like pressure's on. Are you're going to do it? All right.
So I always ask only one question whenever I attend an interview, and thank you for this movie. It was wonderful. What inspires you both to do what you do?
I love that question.
Oh, you delivered. What inspires me? God, I just love acting so much. I just love doing it. I love the process of it. I love the feeling of it. And then I love it when people connect with it in some way. That's always really nice to sort of see what can exist between the thing that you've created and the people that are consuming it. That's the most important part. But I get such joy and fulfillment from doing the thing, and it also gives me license to be all of the things in my life that I'm scared to be in real life, like really commanding and stuff. So it's like, I don't know, it's instead of drinking alcohol to lower my inhibitions, I act. Thank you.
I think I'm inspired by, great characters and great stories that I somehow relate to. I don't think that there's kind of just one thing that inspires me, but there is nothing better than cooking something up in your head with a group of collaborators and then seeing the effect that it has on people, really good or bad. I mean, the worst version is just and it's like a sort of a paradoxical reaction is kind of the best kind of reaction because it's inspired something. But I would also say that I'm inspired by my wife and by my kids.
Aww.
That was such a beautiful answer. Before this gets drowned out by applause, I'm going to remind you all that Sleeping Dogs hits theaters on March 22nd, so make sure you spread the word. Also, if you wouldn't mind just staying seated so they can up and out when we wrap the Q&A, because you got a lot more promoting to do. I'm going to thank you all for being here at this Collider screening series event for Sleeping Dogs. Congratulations on your movie. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Cheers.